Captain's log, stardate 6295.3. Starfleet Command has ordered the Enterprise to report to the Aldebaran sector. Meanwhile, Mr. Spock and I have been recalled to the starbase at Corinth 4 for a classified briefing.
30 minutes till planetfall, Captain.
Thanks for taking your free time to bring us here, Sulu.
Sir, may I point out, as the communique only instructed you and myself to report to the starbase, I would have been perfectly capable of piloting the shuttle.
Then I wouldn't have the chance to see the museum at Corinth 4. They have the most extensive collection of historical firearms in the quadrant. It's a dream come true.
I see. Doctor, do your interests also extend to historical firearms?
Oh, absolutely, Mr. Spock. I've always had a passion for handheld weaponry. We're near several Orion colonies. I'm using my off time to perform some studies on the social shifts within the Syndicate since the Samenhan incident.
Has there been any progress with that?
Perhaps. Perhaps a little too much. There are a lot of very angry people.
Angry enough to start another civil war?
Historically, oppression of any segment of a given population has led to disastrous long-term results.
True, but that doesn't mean the past can't be overcome. My mother used to tell me stories of my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather who grew up in an internment camp during Earth's Second World War. If he could only see me now.
Well, it's the 23rd century. Anything's possible.
Gentlemen, welcome to Corinth 4. May I offer you a drink?
Oh, my. Is this what I think it is?
Well, it depends on what you think it is, but your odds are good. One of the advantages of being light years away from Federation headquarters. You might need it after what I've got to say.
Mr. Spock, ease the nerves.
Thank you, Captain. That won't be necessary.
So, Commodore, to what do we owe this pleasure?
Captain, I know that you and I have had our differences. Under the circumstances, I hope we can move past that. The crew of the Hood has been lost.
Lost? Your communique was rather vague.
Life support systems failure. There's no reason to suspect foul play, just an unfortunate accident. Very unfortunate.
Indeed.
The ship is still intact. The Enterprise has been sent to bring her home.
You still haven't said, why are we here?
You, Jim, are here as a professional courtesy. I thought you'd want to be present in person to hear what I have to say. The Hood will need a new crew and a new captain.
Well, the Lexington is gone. What about Commodore Wesley?
He's put in for early retirement. I don't have to point this out to you, but our fleet has suffered extensive losses in the last few years.
Farragut's being decommissioned?
We have only 7 Constitution-class starships in service, and we need experienced officers on those bridges. I know of only one candidate who's qualified to assume command of the Hood. Congratulations, Captain Spock.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Ship's log, stardate 6295.5. Lieutenant Commander Scott in command. The Enterprise has been sent to salvage the USS Hood near the edge of Federation territory in the Beta Quadrant.
No unusual transmissions, Mr. Scott. The Hood was investigating a subspace anomaly when life support failed.
Astrophysical analysis.
It's possible they didn't compensate properly for the gravitational effects, sir. All hands.
And we wonder why man wasn't born with wings.
It's a risk we all take when we sign up for their service, laddie. Those four-engine souls do that. Still, it doesn't make it any easier. Maintain course.
Yes, sir. Arrival at Aldebaran 3 in 1 hour.
Inform Starfleet. Scott Engineering, ready tractor beam. Let's tow this last back to port.
Well, to the new captain of the USS Hood. I must confess I don't cherish the idea of losing my best officer, but I guess I knew this day would come.
One moment, gentlemen. There may be a complication. Another officer had applied for the position. Commander Garrett from Earth Space Dock.
Garrett. Very experienced officer.
Starfleet felt that she wouldn't be best suited for command.
Well, with all due respect to Mr. Spock, Garrett has an exemplary service record.
Well, it seems that Commander Garrett agrees with you. She's filed an appeal with Starfleet Command. She asserts that she's been selectively overlooked because she's a woman.
Does she have any basis for that complaint?
The United Federation of Planets was formed over 100 years ago by an unprecedented alliance of humans, Vulcans, Andorians, and Tellarites.
The Romulan threat was significant at that time.
It was vital for Earth to ally itself with other major powers in the region, military powers. You've dealt with Tellarites, Captain.
Yes, I've had the distinct pleasure.
Then let me be frank. The men of Teller Prime are an adversarial people. Their culture is based on insults, arguments, hostility. They make excellent politicians.
My father and I have both navigated the Tellarites' enmity firsthand.
Then you understand. Without Teller's resources, the Earth stood little chance to survive the Romulan incursion.
Commodore, with all due respect to the history lesson...
Tellarite society has always frowned on females serving as starship captains. It always has.
But surely the Federation's not bound by the backward social policies of one member species.
Not necessarily. But after the controversial admission of Corridon, the Tellarites have been suggesting they might pull their seat from the Council. It would be unwise to antagonize them further.
Permission to speak freely, sir.
Always.
Laura, from the very beginning, Starfleet has had female captains. You yourself are a perfect example.
I'm in command of a star base, not a Constitution-class starship. I sympathize with your feelings. Believe me, of all people, I sympathize.
Sir, despite the present lack of female starship captains, I do not believe there is any formal regulation against it.
Not officially.
And while I am honored by the offer, if Commander Garrett indeed possesses qualifications greater than I, it would be unethical for her to be passed over for promotion simply because she is a woman.
I agree. She deserves the ship, Commodore.
I see. Well, I don't envy the person that has to explain that through the Tellarite ambassador.
Enter.
Settling in, I see.
As it is unknown how long I shall reside here, logic dictates I arrange my quarters to my liking.
Makes sense.
Captain, after careful consideration, I have concluded that logic also dictates I may be the more suitable candidate for the position. I must consider the possibility that Starfleet was correct in their assessment.
This is about more than logic, Spock. It's about fairness. My God, after all we've overcome, we shouldn't even be having this conversation.
My position is not based upon Commander Garrett's gender.
Or maybe it should be. Despite our charter, our values, Starfleet has never given a woman command of a Constitution-class starship. I'd like to tell myself that it's just been the way the cards fell, but perhaps there's a greater good to be considered here.
If the goal is to nominate a woman for the post, Commodore Gray would be the more appropriate choice.
She doesn't want the ship. Apparently, Garrett's on her way here. Commodore wants me to interview her, draw my own conclusions. But I must be honest, Spock. I can't imagine the Hood with a better captain than Garrett.
Perhaps. But perhaps you simply cannot imagine the Enterprise without me. I appreciate your confidence. I too would find leaving the ship to be most difficult. But you cannot allow that to weigh on your decision.
How could it not? I'm only human, Spock.
Captain, I took the liberty of accessing Commander Garrett's fitness reports. I recommend reading them prior to your meeting. You may find them informative.
Sir, we are within sensor range of the Hood.
I'll stop. That'll be close enough for now.
I'll stop.
No life signs.
Keep an eye out for subspace eddies. We don't want the same thing to happen to us.
Commander, I'm seeing no unusual activity in this system.
Confirmed. There is nothing.
But the transmissions clearly said there was
Aye, an anomaly of some sort. Lieutenant, scan the Hood's EPS grid.
Yes, sir. Definitely been compromised.
Is the damage consistent with the reports?
Difficult to tell.
Shall we rig for tractor beam?
Something doesn't feel right. We cannot risk towing her to dry dock without knowing a wee bit more about what happened.
Commander, if you give me some time, I should be able to restore life support on her engineering deck remotely. You could get a closer look.
I suppose we must.
Diana Garrett, reporting as ordered.
At ease, Commander. I trust your journey from Earth was without incident?
It was, Captain. Thank you for asking.
Good. Please, sit down.
Sir, before we begin, I want to stress that I understand my protests have irritated certain flag officers.
Well, in my experience, Flag officers are easily irritated.
Oh, believe me, I know. I traveled here with Vice Admiral Stom from ESD.
Stom?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like a Vulcan bureaucrat. And yet you survived without throwing yourself out the airlock.
Well, barely.
So, Commander, I've been looking at your record. Quite an accomplished officer. Rose to the ranks quickly, self-made woman.
Thank you.
I see you served on the Constitution before it was decommissioned.
Yes. The original.
Must have been difficult. The attack on Nimbus 3, losing your captain like that.
I'd prefer not to discuss the matter, sir.
Sorry?
I've already said everything there is to say about the incident. Turned over all my logs to Starfleet, including my personal logs.
I'm certain that's true. I simply want...
Captain, my testimony is a matter of record. Now, with your permission, I would like to retire to my quarters. It's been 24 Earth hours since I've slept.
Certainly. Commander, get yourself some rest.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott, I've been able to restore emergency power to the hood's engineering section. You'll have 6, maybe 7 hours of oxygen at most.
Good work, Ensign. That'll have to do. Pilot, we need to study the reactor for gravitational damage.
Sir, request permission to join the boarding party.
Not this time, lad. Uhura, prepare for a full scan of the hood's logs. Suit up for salvage and meet me in the transporter room in a half an hour.
Sir.
Mr. Hadley, you have the con.
Mr. Hadley, you have the con.
It's not personal, Pavel. You're a talented navigator, but you're not focused. Command, science, engineering. A jack of all trades is a master of none. Find something you really love and stick with it. You never know until you try.
Doctor.
The captain filled me in on the situation. I thought I'd check in and see how you're doing. Is this a bad time?
I was in the midst of deep meditation.
A bad time, then. I apologize for the interruption. We can talk later if you like.
Counselor, I would welcome your advice on this matter. It may not be prudent to provoke the Tellarites at this time.
We both know the Tellarites love to make threats, Mr. Spock. Threats on which they almost never deliver. I don't think that's the issue.
What do you believe the issue is, Doctor?
Acquiring my position on the Enterprise was not easy. There were many who believed a counselor was unnecessary. But having the requisite skills and experience, I never attributed their concern to my being a woman. Yet, I have seen enough of human nature to know that how we learn to evaluate others is a many-layered process. And if bias is present, it is often deep and subconscious.
As one whose appearance has, on occasion, been perceived as the most significant element of my identity, I concur that humans, indeed all races, are capable of such bias, both intentionally and unintentionally.
I don't know what my future holds, but if I were ever to have a daughter, I would want her to know that any position is within her grasp if she works hard enough to achieve it.
Without question. But Commander Garrett's record has numerous issues which necessitate further scrutiny.
And tell me, Spock, Would her record be under the same degree of scrutiny in this situation if she were a man?
I believe it would, Doctor. But one can never be certain of another's motives.
No. No, we can't. But we can certainly strive to be clear about our own.
Captain, I asked you to interview Commander Garrett, not antagonize her.
That wasn't my intention, Commodore.
Intention or not, she filed a petition for an immediate decision regarding the Hood's captaincy.
What's the hurry?
Per Starfleet regulations, a 3-person committee will hold a formal hearing to make the final determination. Admiral Stamm, myself, and the next senior officer on this starbase. You, Captain.
Captain's log supplemental. I was certain of my decision regarding the Hood's captaincy, but now I'm not so sure.
This hearing is now in session. I have appointed as members of this inquiry Space Command Representative Stamm and USS Enterprise Captain James T. Kirk. Commander Spock and Garrett, you have the right to ask for substitute officers if you feel any of these named harbor any prejudice to your cases. Do you consent to the service of myself as president of this board?
I do, sir.
Yes, I do, sir.
Very well. Mr. Spock, if you please.
Spock. Serial number S01E07 Service rank, Commander. Position, First Officer, Science Officer. Current assignment, USS Enterprise.
Commander Spock's record is impeccable, of course. I move that we dispense with the formalities if there are no objections.
No, sir.
Oh, I object. I believe Mr. Spock's qualifications are material to this decision. Proceed.
Commendations. Vulcanian Scientific Legion of Honor. Awards of Valor. Twice decorated by Starfleet Command.
Thank you.
Commander Spock, how long have you served in Starfleet?
19 years, 5 months, 20 days.
And for the majority of that time, you functioned as science officer on board the Enterprise, under both Captain Pike, and for the last 4 years under Captain Kirk.
I have.
Commander, if you were transferred to the captaincy of the Hood, how would that make you feel? Yes, you are Vulcan, but you are also half human, aren't you?
I am, Admiral.
Mr. Spock, as a student, you were accepted to the Vulcan Science Academy. A tremendous honor.
Affirmative.
Yet you turned down admission. Did your human emotions play a role in that decision?
No, sir, they did not.
Inaccurate. Inaccurate. Data in error.
The computer would appear to disagree with you, Commander.
I object to this line of questioning. Spock is not on trial here. His racial heritage should have no bearing on his qualification for this position any more than Commander Garrett's gender should.
Captain Kirk, would you deny that every individual's abilities, character, judgment, strengths are in part shaped by his or her heritage, beliefs, gender? I know the idea of a female starship captain unsettles some people, doesn't it?
I see. Let's cut to the chase, shall we? For the record, I am absolutely convinced that it's time for a woman to captain a Constitution-class vessel. But with respect to Commander Garrett, I'm not convinced she is that woman.
The board's damaged. I'm gonna need to bypass it to access the ship's logs.
Check the intermittent ratio at the time the ancients went offline. I'll get the dilithium chamber open. See how bad these crystals have decayed.
Garrett, Diana L. Serial number SC459-033M. Service rank, Commander. Position, First Officer. Current assignment, Earth Space Dock. Commendations, Tucker Memorial Medal of Honor. Ryzian Star of Excellence. ANAR Award for Meritorious Service to Disadvantaged Cultures. Awards of Valor, 4 times decorated by Starfleet Command.
Commander Garrett, you boast an impressive record for your service to Starfleet. Very impressive.
Indeed. But there are some questions which this court would be remiss not to address. You were part of the ill-fated Nimbus 3 landing party, were you not?
Those arthropods came out of nowhere.
Yes, I read your statement to Starfleet. I also read the official investigation into the incident.
Commodore?
It suggested human error.
That investigation was conducted by a Tellarite officer. I strongly and formally contested those findings.
I understand that you contested them.
And no proof of wrongdoing was ever officially determined.
Officially. Yet you and 2 of your subordinates pled the 7th guarantee during the proceedings.
Which by law may not be inferred as an admission of culpability.
There are numerous similar incidents in your file. Diana, I see 2 officers sitting in that chair, one with a long history of faithful service, and one who reacts with undue hostility whenever her judgment is questioned.
Perhaps hostility is a legitimate reaction when one is subjected to undue scrutiny and discrimination.
I wish I could assure you that you haven't been held to a different standard throughout your career because you happen to be a woman. Perhaps you have. Perhaps I have. I honestly don't know. But part of the duty of a starship captain is to learn from mistakes, to face repercussions of action and inaction, and to admit when he or she is in the wrong.
I am well aware of the position's job requirements, Commodore. And as I have testified too many times now, I was not in the wrong.
Follow. The logs I've managed to download are consistent with a subspace disruption, but look here.
The rift, it disappeared.
What do you make of it?
I've never seen anything like that before.
What in the name of? Close the chamber!
Sir, I'm reading a massive power surge in the hood's engines.
Enterprise, we've got a containment failure. Get us out of here!
Bridge to transporter room. Energize.
Their deflector screens have activated. It's impossible to get a lock. We can't bring them back.
Scott to Enterprise. The reactors are critical.
Sir, there's nothing I can do. Can you jettison the core?
Circuits are fused.
How much time?
Minutes. Seconds. Impossible to tell. I'm sorry. Scott Enterprise. Get as far away as possible. Rendezvous with the Captain McCorn 4.
Commander.
Lieutenant, that's a direct order.
Yes, sir.
Wait! I have an idea. Permission to take weapons subsystem station, sir. Trust me.
Go. Enterprise, get out of here! Mr. Hadley, that's a direct order!
Chekhov. I might be able to transmit to Tronic algorithm. Overload signal gain. Force computer to drop shields.
Are you daft? That'll show that the whole board. You'll kill yourself, man!
The HUD's warp core is critical.
Забояться. Руки дерют.
The shields are down. Transporter room, get them out of there.
This hearing is now back in session. The board will entertain motions before delivering its verdict. Very well.
All rise.
Admiral?
I endorse Commander Garrett for promotion to the rank of captain.
I endorse Commander Spock for promotion to the rank of captain. Captain Kirk?
Ops to Commodore Gray.
Gray here.
Sir, incoming transmission from the Enterprise. They were unable to salvage the hood, Commodore. It's been destroyed.
Kirk here. What about my people?
Reports still coming in, sir, but no major injuries to your crew.
Understood. Gray out. Ladies and gentlemen, this new information renders these proceedings unnecessary.
I'm afraid that appears to be the case. Commander Garrett and I shall return to Earth space dock.
If I may. There's an underlying issue that still remains, is there not? For decades, I believe the service has overlooked capable officers for certain positions simply because we're women. They may not admit it. Hell, may not even be intentional. We can hide behind Telluride diplomacy, rationalize it, justify it, but it is still true.
Commander Garrett, do you believe a person should receive special consideration because of their gender, religion, race?
if that person's gender, religion, or race has been historically used to deny them consideration.
That wasn't the question.
Perhaps not. But that is my answer. Starfleet has the opportunity to implement change, to change our values, to change the future. There are countless female officers more than capable of commanding a starship. This may not be my time, but it is most certainly theirs.
I think we're all in agreement with that.
Spock. Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
A moment, Doctor.
Take two, Scotty.
Mister, of all the harebrained, half-baked lunatic ideas.
It's good to see you too, sir. Yes, sir.
I've informed Admiral Stom of your little stunt, Lieutenant. It's worthy of a court-martial.
Whatever disciplinary action you feel I deserve, Lieutenant.
Thank you for saving our lives, Lieutenant Chekhov.
Sir, yes, sir.
I'll be filing a formal recommendation with Starfleet Engineering Corps to install a shield prefix code on all of our ships.
And it will be called the Chekhov Code.
Don't push your luck, lad. I cannot lie. That was an inspired idea. Have you considered a career in tactical? You may want to talk to Mr. Drake.
Commander, what happened over there? The anomaly, the warp core, the deflector screens.
I don't know, Lieutenant. And that's what worries me.
Well, whatever happened, thank you. And congratulations. Before you overloaded the board, you said something. Translators didn't pick it up, but it sounded like Russian.
Old expression. Eyes might be afraid, but hands do the job. Means you never know until you try.
Ambassador, we acknowledge and respect your culture's beliefs. But I must tell you...
Oh, please. I'm well aware that my people's prejudices are hopelessly outdated by modern standards.
I appreciate that you recognize that, sir.
A large faction on Teller Prime argues against our government's stance on this matter. And I, for one, am part of that faction. I believe one of your greatest human writers once said, "A lady's verily is as potent as a lord's."
That he did, sir.
The winds of change blow for us. I do not envy the decision Starfleet now faces, but trust that you have my full support.
Thank you, Ambassador. Embrace the winds.
Sir, I know we didn't get off to the greatest start. Regardless, thank you for your consideration. I do hope our paths cross again.
As do I.
Who knows? Maybe someday a Garrett will command an enterprise.
Well, it is the 23rd century. Anything's possible.
Yes. Thank you.
Captain.
Spock.
I must confess, I find myself bordering on an emotional reaction. I believe you would refer to it as shame.
Shame, Spock?
Shame. That I am somewhat relieved at the destruction of the hood. If I may inquire, had the vessel not been lost, how would you have voted?
Ooh, Spock. I'll admit, I considered voting against you because I didn't want to lose you.
Indeed. I briefly considered withdrawing my name for the very same reason.
And I briefly considered chaining you to your station so you could never leave. Kirk Enterprise.
Enterprise. Scott here, sir.
Scotty, stand by to receive shuttlecraft. We'll be home for dinner. Both of us.